So if you're like me and you just finished ripping apart the entire front end of your truck so that you could do some work on it, such as doing your oil pan, and the truck is not yours originally and you've taken everything apart, what you may find is that some things don't make sense. So for me, I had to rip the lower control arms out, and I took the torsion bars out, and it turns out torsion bars have a proper left and right side and a front to back. And I spent a lot of time scouring the internet. There was no real definitive answer. I found a couple of posts which kind of gave me an answer. So I thought, I checked YouTube on this. And unfortunately, I was not able to find a definitive answer on this. I found lots of videos about how to level your truck, how to install torsion keys, everything else, but how to reinstall torsion bars. Now, this is a 2007 truck, but this generally will apply to most of the Chev GMs of these trucks that will have torsion bar systems in it. I will assume that if you're at this point, you've taken everything apart and you're trying to put it together and you're kind of confused, but you should have tools like a torsion key remover. I got some fluid film, some anti-seize, ratchet, 2 sockets. I got some heat, and the most important thing is your torsion bar. So if you look at your torsion bar, you'll have 2 ends, and each end will have different words on it. This one here has the number 964, and then if you notice, right there is an arrow. And these keys are sequential numbered. So left side will be 963, right side will be 964, and the arrows will be going in opposite directions. Now what this arrow indicates is the way it's going to push down on the pivot of the lower control arm. So what will happen is when you insert the torsion bar into that, your control arm pivots like this. So when it's in the air, it's like this. And then depending on where your truck sits without the torsion bar, it'll be like this. So when you put pressure on your torsion bar, it presses down, which then pushes your truck up, which gives you the lift or level or whatever you want to reference that. So seeing that arrow, seeing that number tells me this is the right side. So then how do you know which side is the front and which side is the back? Well, the side with the arrow, from my knowledge and from what I can find, and if someone wants to prove me wrong or have information otherwise, the side with the arrow is the side that goes to the front. And if you look on the back side, the only thing that you'll find on the back side, and these are really hard to see on mine because I had to beat the crap out of them, is a couple of other more markings, which you can't, like I said, you can't read them on this anymore. But it should say something like the 964 on there. So what I've done is I've got my truck up in the air, tire is loose, suspension is hanging. I've got a little, these torsion bars are fairly awkward and fairly heavy. I have a motorcycle lift, and what I do is I just set the torsion bar on top of this, and it allows me to line it up with the hole in the torsion arm or the lower control arm and the torsion cross member. And then I just basically shove it in the hole, lift up the motorcycle jack so that it's fairly level, and then do all the rest of the work. One of the things that I've been doing on this is I take a bit of heat onto the end and I apply anti-seize, and I've also already got fluid film in the lower control arm. And then what else I do is on the torsion key, what I do is I will spray fluid film on the outside surface and all over the inside, coating this all over the place, just so that when I assemble it back into the truck, I'm giving this a fighting chance that it doesn't rust again to the keys and to the lower control arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start prepping the torsion bar for this side, and then once I'm a little bit further along, I'll bring you guys back and show you what I mean about how my setup is. Okay, so you can see I got this all heavily coated in black fluid film. Yeah, it's their new stuff. Don't really find it much different than the yellow stuff. It's just black, but I find it's easier to see when you're trying to cover spots. So that's the new torsion key. So that's ready to go. And then, like I said, I just really heavily coat the end of this bar with copper anti-seize. So now what I do is, so you can see the hole way up there for the torsion bar, and you can see I got copper on that end, copper on that end. That's the end with the arrow, if I remember correctly. Let me just double check. Looks like it. That's the other end. Yeah. So the end got to be flipped. So you can see that I'm too low to get the torsion bar up. So what I do now is I jack up my little jack here. And I got two 2x4s underneath it. And I put it just through the hole. It can only go through one way. So it goes through like so. And now I finish lifting up my jack. If you have an impact, this will go much faster. I have one. I'm just laying on the floor now, so I'm being too lazy, but we're almost there. All right. So up here, my light. When it's cold, extension cords do not flex at all. It makes it very difficult to do anything. All right. So that's the hole that we need to work in. So that's where the torsion rod is going to go in. So we need our bolt and our half moon and our torsion key. So torsion key has two holes. One's for the tool and one's for the bolt. So you want to stick that up into the hole where it's roughly pointing level-ish. And then once you have that in the hole, you slide your bar back. And it will automatically lock into the front so it can't turn, and it fits into the torsion key and it can't turn. Then you get your torsion removal clamp. I just took the tension off. You can see how it's just halfway up to there now. Grab your ratchet and grab your socket. Once it's up high enough, you can put your little half moon guy in there. Lower down your removal tool. And then once you have that out, you can see the key is just resting on it in there. So now what you do is you take your bolt, you go into the bottom, there's a bottom of your moon, so you put your bolt, and you get your socket. And I have this one just just off the key on the other side, just a hair. Basically made the bottom of the key, that spot with the key, just at the top of this hole. So that's the torsion bar and my key installed for both sides, because you can see the nut or the bolt right there. So now what we're going to want to do is take out my little jack. So jack is out, and we're going to come up here to the front, and then we've got to lower it down. Got to take it off my jack stand. Jack stand is free. Lower this down as slow as we can. And now the truck is on the ground, and I can tell from looking at it that it still needs to go up because it's got a bit of a rake on it like this. I know a lot of people will do like a, and I wish I had a tape measure out here, and I do have one. I found it today, so just give me a second here. My pliers got stuck. Pliers are out. So tape measures right here. So a lot of people will want to go from like the floor to the bottom of the fender, or center of the hub to the fender. One of my ideas is to go under the truck, and what you want to do instead, is basically take a measurement from the floor to the center of your lower control arm bolt. So on mine, I'm looking at about just looks like about 12 3/8. Yeah, 12 3/8 on the driver's side. On the passenger side, we're 12 3/8. So we're exactly the same on both sides. So I know that my truck is sitting, now sitting level on the ground. And there's my, you can see my CV axle there is almost, I would say, if not parallel to the ground on the driver's side. And you can see it's parallel or almost damn near close on the passenger side. So that's not right where I want it, because I do want this truck to sit up just a hair bit higher. I don't mind the rake too much, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive around with it for a few days and let it settle, because when you've done this much work to these trucks, they do need to settle out. So I'll drive it for a few days, let everything settle out. Once it's settled, then I'll take another measurement and see where we're at, and probably lift it up just probably about another 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, somewhere in there, just so it gives a little bit more of a less of a rake. But I'm okay with a bit of a rake, because I do, as you can see right now, I do have a bunch of crap in the back of my truck. I do put a lot of heavy weight in the back of this thing, so having a little bit of rake doesn't hurt for those times. So yeah, I just figured that I didn't see many videos on that, so figured I'd just do up a quick little one to show you guys, if you guys have torsion bars and you take them out, how you can fix it. Something interesting on my truck, I'm not sure what happened. When you put these kits in, one of the things they tell you is to flip your sway bar, and my sway bar got flipped, but now with my rework, it's almost touching the control arm. So I got to flip my sway bar over again and get some new end links. So that's something I still have to work on. But for now, torsion bars are installed, new torsion keys. good to go. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.